Hello, it's Dr. Stephanie, and I'm back with part two of our Refresh Goal Planning instructional video. So I hope you enjoyed part one. And if you haven't watched part one yet, please watch that before you watch part two, because I go through the 5 different steps of using the Refresh Goals Planner. And in part one, I go through step one, step two, and step three. So now it's time for us to discuss step four and step five. But one of the things I wanted to share is that the first 3 steps of the Refresh Goal Planners is done at the beginning of the quarter. You set your intentions, you set your quarterly goals, and from your quarterly goals, you set your monthly goals. The next 2 steps, I believe, are best done at the beginning of the month. So now that you have your quarter planned out, at the beginning of the month is when you want to start to focus on step four, which is creating your strategies. What strategies are you going to use to get to those goals? Because this planner is all about having you manifest the vision, the intentions, the goals that you set, not just setting goals and then not doing anything about them. It's taking you all the way through completion so that you can have a return on finish. So, what are strategies? Strategies, like I said, is step four. You probably have heard of intentions before. You probably have heard of goals. You may not have heard the term strategies. Strategies are your map. They're your game plan or blueprint to get you to your goal. If the goal is your destination, the strategy are the roads that you will take to get there. Remember, your strategies should be reasonable. There are many paths to success. What 3 paths do you want to focus on? Again, just like with the goals, if you're new to goal planning, you can pick just one goal. You don't have to pick more than one goal. And if you're new to this system, you don't have to pick 3 strategies. You can have 1 strategy or 2 strategies or 3 strategies. Keep it simple to begin with, because the most important thing is that we want you to achieve your goal. We want you to manifest your vision. And a confused mind tends to do nothing. So keep it simple. I'm going to give you examples that include 3 strategies and 2 goals. But remember, do what's best for you. And you can use parts of the planner until you feel comfortable using the whole thing. But I'm explaining how you can use it all together. The other thing about strategies is that you can work smarter, not harder. Your strategies may overlap from one goal to another goal. For example, if you have an online business and you have 2 goals in your online business, your marketing strategy may be the same for both of those goals. Remember, smarter, not harder. So, in the planner, you will see this. It tells you to break each month's realigned goals down into strategies. Basically, a strategy is when you ask yourself, what strategies will I use to reach my overall goal? And you want to aim when you're creating a strategy. And what do I mean by aiming? You want to think about what's an acceptable, an ideal, and a middle. You don't have to write that down, but you can think about it quickly in your head. So when you're coming up with a strategy, think, is this my ideal, or is this the bare minimum that I could do and still get to my goal? And you really want to aim for what's in the middle, between the bare minimum and the ideal. That's your middle goal. That's the sweet spot. So I shared some of my goals in the last video, and now I'm going to share the strategies I chose for those goals. Okay, so goal number 1 was my personal goal, and it was prioritizing my health and losing 10 pounds. I developed 3 strategies for this goal. But remember, you can do 1 strategy or 2 strategies. You don't have to do 3 strategies. So strategy 1 is for me to follow the Optavia 5-in-1 meal plan, 6 days a week. Remember I talked about aiming? So I'll explain it with this one. So my ideal goal would be to follow that meal plan 7 days a week. And my bare minimum would be to follow it 5 days a week. So my middle goal is 6 days a week. So that's how I came up with that strategy. Strategy 2 is to do 30 minutes of exercise 3 days a week. Again, 4 would have been ideal, 2 would have been minimal. The middle is 3. And strategy number 3 is to follow up on all doctor's appointments. And as you can see, I put a target completion date for each strategy because we want to be specific. The way we make sure that these things actually get done is by being specific and setting dates. So then goal number 2 was my professional goal. And that was growing my group coaching by starting a new cohort and optimizing the first one. So I have 3 strategies for this one as well, but you don't have to have 3. You can have 1, you can have 2, but you need at least 1 strategy. And you can see my 3 strategies listed here. I won't read them, but I did the same thing for my second goal as I did for my first goal. And I will remind you an example that I used in the first video was a simpler goal. So let's say your goal is to declutter your house in a year. And so your quarterly goal is to have 2 rooms of your house decluttered in a quarter. And then your monthly goal would be to declutter your study in month 1. So the strategy to doing that, here's some possible strategies. So one strategy to decluttering the study in 1 month would be to decide what you are going to donate. Find a donation service, decide what you're going to donate, and follow through on donations. So strategy 1 might be donation. Strategy 2 might be scanning documents. All these pieces of paper lying around, scanning documents. And strategy number 3 would be identifying things you no longer need and throwing them away. So that's 3 strategies for decluttering your study. 1, donating. 2, scanning documents. And 3, throwing things away that you no longer need. See? 3 very simple strategies. There's a bonus item that you get with your planner, and it's called the strategic planning list. And for people who like to do brain dumps, who like to do mind mapping, who like to just kind of put it all out there, this would be step 4B. This would be what you do after you develop your strategies, is that you would just list things that you can do in each strategy. So what types of ideas do you have about strategy 1? What types of action items do you have about strategy 1, strategy 2, and strategy 3? You don't have to use this list. It's an extra optional step. Now we're getting into the 5th step. So just 5 easy steps. The 5th step is developing tactics. So what are tactics? You might be asking, Dr. Stephanie, you're using all of these words that I have never heard of before, and I am an expert goal planner. Well, I'm glad that you asked. So if strategies are your roadmap, like I mentioned before, then tactics are the turn-by-turn directions. You have to start driving. You know your destination, that's your goal. You've mapped out the best route to get you to your destination. Those are your strategies. Now it's time to start driving and take some action. And we want to take smart action. The way to manifest your vision, achieve your goals, is by taking action. Tactics help you to take action every day. That is smart action. So step 5 is to create your tactics. And you'll see this definition of tactics in your refresh planner. So from strategies to tactics, and we do it in a smart way, you want to think about these elements. Your tactics should be specific, measurable, achievable, reasonable, and time oriented. So, your tactics is you're going to ask yourself, well, what is my specific first step for week one, for goal one, for strategy one? What's my specific first step for week one, for goal one, for strategy two, etc.? For week one, for goal two, for strategy one, etc. And so you do that for each week, for each goal, and for each strategy. Now, if you have a lot of goals and you have a lot of strategies, this step might feel overwhelming. Keep it simple. Stick to one goal and maybe even just one or two strategies to start with. That way, you don't have that many tactics that you have to deal with in the beginning. And then once you get really good at it and you become really proficient, then you can start adding on more strategies and more tactics. So this is what it might look like for someone like me who has 2 goals and 3 strategies for each goal. So week 1, this is the first week of January. So I'm making it actionable. I'm making sure that the things that I need to do to reach the goal are actually happening because I'm scheduling them, and I'm scheduling them intentionally in the place that they need to go. So in week 1, for example, you can see there's a mixture of my personal goals and my professional goal. You can see that there's a mixture of strategy 1, strategy 2, and strategy 3 from both of those goals. So I have send QRC survey to past members, finalize heartbeat community, exercise on the Peloton, do the treadmill. You do not have to be this specific. If you don't want to decide what type of exercise you're going to do and you want to wake up in the morning and decide, that is perfectly okay. You can adjust this tool to work for you. We just want you to do the action. So it's very important to get some tactics down, to figure out how long it's going to take you to do the tactic, and to figure out how you're going to be accountable or how you're going to measure that. It could be as simple as writing it in your calendar, putting it on your task list, or if it's something that you're accountable to someone else for. And you're going to do that for week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. So this is just week 3 and week 4. So that is the 5th step and final step of the refresh goal setting system. I cannot stress enough that you can adjust this system to what works for you. If you don't like setting monthly goals, you can just set quarterly goals, and then you can create your strategies from there. If you don't want to do the tactics, you don't have to start off doing the tactics. But I will say that if you follow this system, that the chances of you actually achieving your goals and manifesting your vision are much higher. Just start simple. Start with one goal, 1 or 2 strategies, and tactics for each week in all of those. And you will notice a huge difference in what you produce. So it's time for some goal setting and accountability. There's some other really fun things to do in this planner. There is daily place for affirmations. It's called the STAR routine. There's a place for you to celebrate yourself every day. There's a place for you to reflect every week on what goals you achieved, what worked well, what didn't. So there's room for everything. There's room for you to do, and there's room for you to be, because we are human beings. And so we have to balance our doing with our being. So congratulations again on purchasing the Refresh Goal Planner. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions at Stephanie@StephanieBrownCoaching.com.